Hey guys, so instead of just reading the patch notes and telling you guys what's been changed, I think I'd rather just tell you my experiences playing this new patch. So I played the limited time mode Bank It. It's kind of interesting. It's almost difficult in a way because you're constantly like being bombarded by people and you always have to watch your back. I mean, for some it's kind of exciting. I mean, it's no different than Call of Duty or Battlefield in terms of being aware of your surroundings, but because there's so many different levels of where people can attack, you constantly see a lot of lights and you see a lot of mediums running recon. You see a lot of lights wearing cloak or dash. So I don't think heavy is going to be around a lot in this mode because it's almost like a free for all for all the mediums and lights. As far as balance changes, cloaking didn't seem like it's too bad. I personally haven't felt any difference in it. So a way that they could balance out cloak is maybe what they did in beta is there's refractions, and so there's a little more shine on certain angles of the character. Also, what happened too was as the character was running, their areas would be kind of distorted or would kind of pop out a little bit more out at you, which made it easier to kind of see, if a cloaked person was there. So, I mean, those are possibilities rather than making it look completely flat. I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I think it's slightly balanced, but maybe it needs a little tweak here and there. I tested out recon senses, and I wasn't a real big recon guy to begin with, but I just wanted to see what the whole uproar was about and concerning the ability. I do feel like it really depletes real fast in terms of every time you use, because the way I use it is I'll kind of do a quick scan to see if I'm surrounded or if I can move cleanly, and then I go. And I tend to catch myself without any recon to use. So if that's the intention, I think it might have been nerfed, but it doesn't really feel like it's too much because, I mean, you can still use it for pretty long distances and still see across a good chunk of the map. So if anything, if they were to nerf this or balance it, I should say, maybe give it like a proximity of 25 to 35 meters. So then at least you can see people coming towards you and you can anticipate and prepare rather than being able to see across the map. Almost like a sonar nade. How sonar nades are, they give a little, it almost looks like a 10-meter radius. A little blip, almost like if you guys played Apex Legends, almost like Bloodhound, where you get a pulse and the pulse scans up to a certain distance and you see people and they stay highlighted for a certain second. So maybe you get two pulses. Maybe they change it to pulses instead of decreasing the distance. Maybe you just get like a pulse. That'd be kind of cool. I don't know. I'm more of a team player, so I usually tend to use healing beam or something like that. I did notice that the C4, there's definitely a huge change on that, and I just hope it doesn't turn into a breach charge, because if it turns into a breach charge, it's like, what's the difference? Like, there's nothing to differentiate it from blowing up a little hole in the wall to actually doing destruction. But I mean, combining the two, I mean, I think it's fair nerf, I guess. The only thing I think that they need to change is maybe detonation time, because you can't just throw it and then blow it up like in Battlefield or Call of Duty. So I guess you can't C4 toss is what it is, because there's a delay. So I like to see that delay maybe shortened so you could use it more offensively or defensively depending if you're being pushed or not. RPGs, I guess they don't obliterate people anymore, so I mean, it is what it is, but I mean, at the same time, it's a rocket propelled explosive, so I mean, we can't nerf it too much or else it's lose its purpose. Stun gun, I think that's a good change. 5 seconds is a long time, and that's a long time for someone to, for the way the TTK is, depending on the gun they have a shotgun or the XP5. I mean, you're not even going to last the 5 seconds. I mean, you're probably not even going to last the 3/4 seconds. I think that's pretty fair. Quick cash, ranked, and tournament where they increase the respawn time. So a lot of people were talking about how it takes too long to respawn, and I think where they had it versus the betas was a good spot about the 25 seconds. So I don't know what the purpose is increasing it to 1 second. I don't know if they're trying to slow down gameplay or create more sense of urgency to get to these points. I don't see the community really being happy with this change, because they're already complaining about how long it takes at 25 seconds, and now you're increasing it to 26. But I do believe that, but lowering down the requirements to enter tournaments is a big plus, because a lot of people get turned away because they can't enter these things because I have to do 50 games. Hopefully this brings more players into the game. Weapons wise, let's see, flamethrower got an increase, and I don't use flamethrower. I've noticed more flamethrowers out there, but it doesn't have the weight that it carried during the betas, where you just were just destroyed. Like you couldn't do anything against it. I mean, hey, if it increases more options, that's cool. LH1 don't really use. Actually, no, I use it a couple times. I like it, and I think it's a good mid to long range weapon, depending on how you play. M11, the pattern is weird because it looks like the same pattern. It just looks like it's been condensed, and so it doesn't look as smooth as the previous recoil from pre 1.5. I don't know how it's going to play out. I mean, yes, it's tighter, and if you recoil smooth while shooting, then it shouldn't be a problem. But I just felt like the way the recoil pattern was pre 1.5, it made it real easy to recoil smooth. I'll have to do some more testing to see how I really feel more about it. I just kind of went in the practice round and did a couple of recoil patterns just to see what was different rather than actually playing with it and playing in some quick plays and seeing how the gun handles now. The reduction for the SH1900, I think this was due. I mean, the gun is way too powerful as it is. I mean, I don't think any gun is a two-shot anything. Like, I mean, you're two-shot in a heavy, and that's ridiculous with a shotgun when the heavy's own shotgun can't two-shot him. I mean, I don't know how many pellets it shoots out, but, you know, maybe a further nerf to where I could see it being two-shotting lights, three-shotting mediums, and maybe four-shotting heavies is realistic, I think. Or maybe three-shotting heavies. M60. Now, I tested out the M60, but they had the bloom, so I think my opinion on it is kind of skewed because of that bloom, because I couldn't land shots, and things were just not hitting because of that. I'm going to give it another try, and maybe put a video up talking about it. Riot shields, I mean, I didn't see... When I was playing pre 1.5 patch, I didn't see anything kind of going on with it. SA 1216. I mean, the gun shoots fast as it is, but I mean, oh well, I guess when sometimes there's like a double pump action in it. So, but I think the gun's fine. Throwing knives. It's nice that you can actually see the trails, because it's kind of, when you're trying to do some long range shots with them, it's kind of hard to see or judge the distance from the previous throw that you had. So hopefully this will help make some long range shots easier. And the V9S, I think that's almost in line with the pre-beta. I mean, I think that's almost in line with the beta damage, or maybe slightly less. But hopefully they don't go too much to where they create that crazy 6-tap, you're done. So, I mean, I think the gun is in a good sweet spot. I'm still not seeing a lot of V9s. I see more XPs and snipers and shotguns than anything else. So, I mean, I think the balance is there. Now let's go on for a rant, because, you know, I watch other YouTubers' videos, or I read the forums and check out Steam discussion boards just to see what the sentiment is, see what the complaints are. And it almost seems like every time people that play the light build are always complaining about heavy and medium being overpowered, or need more health, or faster health regen and stuff like that. And it's just like, do you understand the role that you're supposed to play? And you look at like these guys that are making these complaints, and you go to their page, and all they have is them playing light. Videos of them playing light. They don't play heavy, they don't play medium, or if they do, they don't put them up. And it's like, I don't know if I could take your opinion very seriously when you obviously have a bias. And when you look at the games that you play, you don't really have any competitive experience or anything to really say that I know what I'm talking about. And if you look at this game and the way that the developers envisioned it, there's checks and balances. And the reason why light has its health is because they're meant to be fast. They're meant to be in and out. They're meant to they have really good movement abilities, such as cloak, such as grapple, such as dash. And in the right hands, these people are going to be lethal. Check out Sync D's, Lyric, and others that use these light builds, and they're just amazing. Because you have to be really smart to play a light build, because you have to know what your limits are and what you can get out of that to get out and then come back again. And I just don't believe that they need a health buff. I don't believe that their weapons need more buffing than what it is. I think a lot of things are balanced. I mean, the XP rips. The pistol, it rips up close. It doesn't rip at distance. I mean, you have the swords, you have the assassin dagger, which is a one-shot kill in the back, and the shotgun's still not fully fixed. I mean, there's a lot of options that make lights viable. It's just the playing style required to play light is what you need to figure out. And I'm not going to mention his name, but this YouTuber is also talking about how red barrels need nerfing because he's still getting hit by nukes. And it's like, dude, like, just stop. You're going to ruin the game. Like, nukes already got nerfed. I personally think they got over nerfed. I think that if you're going to do the damage, do the damage. If you're going to do distance, then do distance thrown. But don't do both. Heavy can't even throw a barrel without blowing himself up. And if anything, I like to see maybe the distance. If you're going to add the weight, at least let the distance be about 20 meters that you can throw the barrel. You don't have to throw it like John Elway or Mahomes throwing a touchdown, 70 yards, but at least make it to where heavies aren't going to blow themselves up doing a risk like this. Another compromise is carryable health. The orange barrels take a lot of damage to blow up. Maybe look at redoing that. There's a lot of ways you could balance it out. APS turret, why don't you increase the radius to where, let's say if it's a 10-meter radius, maybe increase it to 20 or 30 meters, or 15 to 25 meters, I should say, so that the explosion doesn't hit you and it takes out the C4. I mean, the game is full of counterbalances, but these people want to cry out and make these changes because they want to play the way they play in Call of Duty, or they want to play the way they play in Overwatch, or whatever game they play, Battlefield, and they just don't want to adapt or change their loadout to accomplish the counterbalance. And I think that what they need to do is, in ranked or just tournament modes in general, is let us have access to our loadouts or our full scale inventory, because now we can change things and adjust accordingly to in the game, and that's going to change a lot of things. That's going to help us combat that light or overcome that heavy with maybe a glitch grenade that we didn't have in our arsenal. Or maybe goo gun. Maybe we want to switch up to the goo gun, or maybe we didn't have jump pads. So I think that if they allow us to change our loadouts during the tournaments, that's going to change a lot of way people feel, because we're locked in right now and we can't change. So it gets frustrating when you're constantly losing and there's nothing you can do about it until the next round. So I think that would be a good adjustment. But overall, man, people just need to just stop and really think about how it's going to affect overall balance. Not just you, but how is it going to affect the game? People are talking about raising lights to 175. No, man, that's going to make them unbalanced, because they're going to be able to take more hits with their speed and their ability to get away, or even health regen. I mean, the purpose is to get people to stay out of the battle for a little bit of time so that you can make pushes. If people have fast health regen, you're never going to get an opportunity to make that push or to make that defend, because they're constantly coming back. Really assess what's going on and what people are saying. I think glitch grenades, maybe they should be impact or a shorter fuse time. I get it. I see the radius of it exploding, but that delay kind of delays a push. So if you're trying to do a throw and a push, it's going to delay everything, because you have to wait for that timer to come off, which will let other teams kind of roll up behind you. And then it takes away from the time that you have to steal or whatever type of play you're trying to make with your team. I think maybe changing it to an impact or maybe a throw and a 1 second timer, I think those are viable options there. And I don't think heavies need any more nerfs. I think they're in a good spot. I think people just need to learn how to adapt and know how to take out people. Because look, if a heavy was the problem, you couldn't one clip them with the XP54. The XP54 has 30 rounds, and if you could clip them with that gun, then it's not an issue. It's just you're missing your shot or skill issue, or you're just playing like a moron and not looking for opportunities to get in. And I mean, not everyone's gonna play smart. That's why they have different builds for different people. I personally, as much as I like to play smart, I like to be able to take more damage so I can stay in battle. Just let the devs analyze their data and make things accordingly, because all these YouTubers, all these streamers that are just crying about every little thing, I mean, you guys are going to create the downfall of this game. So back off. Anyway, I hope you guys liked the video. Take care.